Good morning, this is Vidgen and you're on Deadline TV. We're just making a series of little short videos today that are all interconnected. So if there's some things you don't understand in this video, either A, go and have a look at some of the other videos, hopefully they'll answer your questions, or B, just contact me on Facebook. I'm very approachable and I can go into some of these issues a bit deeper if you've got, you're not quite sure. In my last video I talked about the constitutional issues of the TPPA, which I think are really need to be understood a lot more widely than they are. The second part of my video right now, which is called the Road to Washington 2020, it's about explaining to people that even though the TPA gets ratified on December the 30th, there's a lot of things going on at the moment which are moving to make sure that the second phase of what basically is a corporate takeover are successful. At the moment, where we currently sit, is 11 of 12 members, excluding the United States of America, signed the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Yes, I know it has another bunch of alphabet, but I'm going to stick with TPA because that's what we've all known it for the last 10 years. And they've signed it, but America didn't join. But the second part will be that I suspect that after Donald Trump leaves office, we will see the return of an American government that is pro-TPA, and they will come in. And more dangerously, they will actually be reactivating the investment settlement dispute ISDS clauses. I'm a little bit dyslexic, folks, so you're going to have to ISDS or ISSD, but you're smart people, you'll work it out. But the clauses upon these things basically give corporations the right to sue government. At the current moment, thanks to the great people of Canada, the indigenous people of Canada, those clauses are being suspended, but they will be reactivated down the road once they can figure out how to get around our constitutional issues, and once America is back in, because this is really good. This is America's baby, and they want this thing to have these clauses because it gives them a lot of dominant rights. One of those things I think is to look at, to understand, is looking at the preparation moves, and those include just a couple of quick examples, and they're all basically about control of our water and natural rights. One of them has included the series of mining companies that have tried to do deep bed or deep seabed mining down the west coast. Last year, well in fact this year, sorry, I'll keep nearly at that New Year's point, so forgive me. But this year, the various mining companies, they went into the environmental court. I think in Trans-Tasman's case, or Tasman Mining's case, they went into the court 3 times, and they didn't change a damn thing in their submissions, and they knew they were going to lose. But Simon Hartley wrote a really good article about this, and he reported. He didn't go, I believe this, he just noted what was happening in the court case, and he did a very good job. So Simon Hartley's Hager Daily Times, one up for you. The cool thing that he highlighted in this article was that when the CEO of one of these mining companies came out of this court, which had been said, no, you can't mine, same reasons we told you can't mine, several times beforehand, this CEO was actually rubbing his hands in glee. And why would you rub your hands in glee? Well, because according to him, as the judge had said in the summary, valuable things which would be used in a precedent in future court cases. Ultimately, what that judge did in his summary up is he recognised the mining company's right to profit, and that's all they needed. That's going to be, when the TPA and those clauses come back in, that's going to be, that precedent's what's going to be dragging us back into court, and they're going to say, if you're getting in the way of our right to profit, which the TPA protects, you've acknowledged that we've got a right to profit, bang. So that's one of the little kind of preparatory moves that these predators are actually out there doing there. Second one is, again, if you look out there, you see that the oil companies are also making noises about their right to profit and about legal action. These guys are all laying down the foundations so that when it goes into a court situation, they've already got their homework done. Also got very important to bear in mind that the way that TPA court works, if those clauses are activated, is that it's not like you go into the courtroom and it's me and it's them and it's a judge. No, actually what it is it's them, the corporations, then it's us, the government, representing the people. We all know what a great job they do there. But then it's overseen by a tribunal. The tribunal is elected from professionals who come from a corporate background. So you're actually going into a courtroom environment where it's a 2-to-1. So it's not a particularly favourable, odd situation. And all these things that beforehand, that are being set up by the corporations is designed to make sure they have maximum advantage, that when they go into the court, they can guarantee their right to have a right over our natural resources. The same situations actually happen with, at the moment, with the big ones, actually probably water. On one level, we've got China turn around and they've been given, you know, rights to mine water down in Christchurch. Really stupid thing to do, because they're allowed to do it. We've just opened literally the floodgates for everyone else to do it. So these are all the things that are actually out there. It's about getting as much as they can in right now, so that they've got their rights determined, so that when they actually do end up having their tribunal, then they can turn around and say, oh, but you let us do this. So these are the things that we really need to be aware of, is what are those overseas guys doing? What are they doing in terms of litigation, and why are they doing that litigation? So that's very important. I mean, there's another example of that too, which is sort of a little bit outside of it, but it's the Whanganui River, has just been made basically a natural citizen. Sounds great, fantastic. Water being treated as its own person with its own rights. Awesome. It's been placed under iwi management control. Awesome. Small problem is that, again, these TPA things don't work by themselves. There are all these series of other legislation that gets passed locally, which actually reinforces and down the road helps them to achieve their goals. The big one for me is the other battle, which is, I think, a very important battle, because they haven't quite won this one, but it's been the review of the Maori land courts, which is again why the issue of iwi management in this case shouldn't be an issue. It should be like something, you know, 95% of all New Zealand seventh generation have enough blood in them to be Maori, so I don't really care if the Maoris look after the land, because, hey, that's my cuzzy bros, I'm all up for that. The problem is the Maori Land Court, the Maori Land Court review process wants to shift that power so that only the iwi corporate body actually is in control. And those iwi corporate bodies are literally corporations that are working as subsidiaries to larger companies. So, for example, you might have Nestle's doing something with Ngātahu. Ngātahu has 49%, or sorry, 51%. In fact, no, 49% shareholding, because that is the model. They always work these models out so that local iwi gets less. And again, the seabed mining is a good example of how that happened, and how that's, you know, blown up in the local iwi up north base. So they turn around and they do these subsidiaries, which basically allows them to do privatisation through the back door, while placing more control in the hands of an iwi corporate body, which should be good, but unfortunately, you know, we know what's actually happening there as well. It's just the power isn't being shared amongst the wider iwi or hapu. It's being made at these corporate boards, and in actual fact, the people on the iwi are being excluded, and this will come back to bite them in the ass too. So, you know, that's another kind of aspect of, you know, what we're actually up against. A couple of things there too, again, tying on with that water situation, looking at all these moves, you know, because it's all about them getting prepared for the next phase. You know, with water, we've also seen, I went to an art exhibition, I think it's Convergence Gallery in Picton, run by Barbara Speedy. Her husband, Mick Speedy, who's best friend James Shaw, former member of the Young Nats, is an intellectual property writer, and he was speaking at this thing, saying that how he'd been briefed by a 3-star military general, how, you know, there's no limited water, and water was going to become a more and more scarce thing. Well, I caught him back in the corner there at the end of the art exhibition, wonderful paintings, all to do with how water is such an important, scarce thing. And they said, well, you know, Nick, how come you know all this, and how come you're getting briefed by a 3-star military general? He said, well, I've been employed by Fonterra, and Fonterra wants to get out of the water game, out of the milk industry, and they want to get into the water game. So, you know, here we have seen another example of this move to control our natural resources. That ties into 2 pieces of legislation. One is the 2015 food bill, which now defines water as a food, and also it ties in with the fact that it basically sort of says that water isn't a right, it's a privilege. So it's up to you, up to the government to decide whether or not you can have it, you know, and you can see where that goes. Moving further down the road, like, you know, as I, you know, left the next place, I ended up down in Te Anau, and I discovered that a helicopter had actually landed on top of Te Anau, and all these bankers have got out, part of Pestry New Zealand, kind of intrigued about what all these international bankers are doing there. One of them was a Japanese guy from Goldman Sachs. Got a confirmation, you know, I made sure that this wasn't conspiracy theory stuff. Luckily, it was Lou Sanford from the Department of Conservation confirmed on his own website that yes, this meeting did happen and these people were actually there. Thank you, Lou Sanford, Department of Conservation, doing the great job of actually telling us what's really up to all the time. Well, that author of the Goldman Sachs, along with those guys from Pepsi's and a whole bunch of other people interested in water, was an author of a report by Goldman Sachs saying how they want to create this thing called green bonds, which will basically privatise all our water, our power, our air. So effectively, they're talking about on top of the glacier, where all the water runs off from Te Anau into the rivers down below, and that's where we've got these guys who are actually very keen for the TPA lurking around. So another little example of the proliferation movement. Further down the road there, bumped into a lovely farmer, took me for a drive all down the Manapuri, which back in the 70s or the 80s they wanted to flood, and Meridian, because by the way, Meridian were also at this little pest-free New Zealand thing, all the bankers actually got out, but they wanted to flood the rivers in Manitoba. The locals got out there and said, no, huge situation. Sir Jeffrey Palmer talks all about this in relation to constitutionalism, TPA, which is funny again because I've talked about this all beforehand. But this time was telling me that, no, forget about all of that past. He's been told, he's had Meridian Energy come down and they've bought up all the farms down the Manapuri Valley from basically Te Anau down up to Tuatapere Way. And then they bought them off all these dairy farmers. Remember how Nick Smith, Speedy, Frontier wants to get out of dairy into water? Well, they bought them off all these dairy farmers and they've leased them back to the dairy farmers. So for the moment, the farmers don't get the cows. But there's one stubborn sheep farmer and he won't go. And Meridian's response to him, so he's telling me, is sell out or we'll flood you out. So basically they're telling him the plans are to flood that entire area, and that's going to be a catchment area for the water coming off basically Te Anau, which is going to be part of this whole new green bond industry where water is actually worth more than gold. But it's not your water, because it's now corporate water, because they've been setting these things in motion so that legally they can claim a right to it before the battle's even fought. And that's what we're missing. We're missing, we're all aware of the stuff when the big machine guns and headlines hit us. We're not paying enough attention to the little recon orcs that are actually out there. And that's kind of what my job is, to kind of run around the country and pull these bits together. We'll stop it right there because I'm going to carry on this video in a second, in the next one, because I want to show you another little step that shows you how the next stage of the TPPA in New Zealand is very much a part of that, and it involves some very, very big players that have been down here recently. So I'll see you in a second on Deadline TV, part 2 of our Road to Washington 2020.